da 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 da.
Hi, this is George, and welcome to the second part of my Orruk Warclans rewrite for Age of Sigmar 4th edition. If you missed the first part, which covers battle traits, battle formations, spell and prayer laws, and enhancements, you can find a link in the description. Today we are going to be reviewing war scrolls, both alterations to existing ones and wholly new ones, as well as the armies of renown. Before we fully get into the war scrolls, I just want to clarify that if I don't bring up a specific war scroll here, and it's a hero, you can assume that my change would be change the hero's weapons to hit on 3+, and give it plus 10 points to reflect that change. We'll start with the Mega Boss, which has had a plus 30 points increase to reflect the following changes. Firstly, now the boss chopper will hit on a 3+ instead of a 4+, because let's let destruction heroes hit on 3+, please. It also has a new ability called Shouty Commander, which functionally allows you to use the Mighty Destroyer's ability twice. Because the ability does not actually trigger off Mighty Destroyers as an ability, you can also use it in armies of renown. This means that you will still get the full value of the Mega Boss, regardless of which army you put it in. Lead from the Front has received one change. It can now be used on any non-hero Ironjaw's infantry, not just brutes. This allows you to use it on things like Ardboys, as well as other new war scrolls, which we will be looking at in a moment. And finally, Strength from Victory remains unchanged. For the Mega Boss on Maw-Crusher, its boss hacker now hits on 3+, again because let's let destruction heroes hit on 3s, please. Additionally, the rend of its boss hacker and Maw-Crusher's fists and tail has been changed from 1 to 2. It has a new ability, the biggest, bellowiest boss, which triggers when this unit was picked as the target of a friendly war ability. This allows you to boost it up more quickly by targeting it with abilities like the Ironjaw's war battle trait. At this point, you give the unit a war token to a maximum of 3. This ties into its Strength from Victory ability. Lastly, for the Mega Boss or Maw-Crusher, its Destructive Bulk Rampage has been entirely reworked. It no longer triggers on a 2+ on a D3 because I don't like rolling dice to see if you roll dice. Instead, the restriction is that it requires there be no monster units within its combat range. The unit then moves 2d6 as normal, can pass through the ranges of enemy units, and can end that move in combat. Now, this is where another change comes in. You inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the lower of the dice used in the 2d6 roll. If that enemy unit is infantry, the mortal damage is equal to the higher of the dice instead. This cuts down on the number of dice you have to roll to get the ability to work. The addition of the biggest, bellowiest boss and the changes to destructive bulk solidify the role of the Mega Boss or Maw-Crusher as a massive anti-infantry powerhouse. This war scroll receives a plus 30 points boost to reflect these changes. For Gore Grunters, the anti-cavalry +1 rend on their chopper or hacker has been changed to charge +1 damage. I have also improved the rend of the grunter tusks to 1, while removing charge +1 damage. Lastly, I removed the anti-cavalry boost from its Gore Grunter charge. Overall, these changes give it a plus 10 points increase. The lore of the brutes has been changed to reflect the new higher level of competence among the Ironjaws. Brutes, being brutes, now represent powerful rivals to the war boss that are ultimately just a little too stupid and slow to act as true leaders. Still, even a blunt instrument will have its uses, and many war bosses try to get rid of the brutes that threaten their position by sending them into the most dangerous areas of the battlefield. This new lore is reflected in a single new ability called Rivals No More. As a reaction once per turn army, when a friendly unit of brutes is destroyed, if your general is on the battlefield, you gain a command point. This represents the general no longer having to worry about their rivals and being able to turn their full attention back onto the battlefield. Brutes are otherwise unchanged and have no points increases. To start with the alterations to Cruel Boy's War Scrolls, we have the Snatcher Boss on Sludge Raker Beast. Rather than having the Festering Wounds ability, the Sludge Raker's bites and talons simply gain crit mortal. Sludge Raker Venom has been renamed to Sludge Raker Poison, because Venom is specifically a toxin delivered through bites and that doesn't apply here. I'm going to be pedantic about this, shut up. The ability itself has also been reworked. It now functionally grants a second use of your Venom-encrusted weapons ability to a friendly Kruleboyz unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit. Like the Mega Boss, this doesn't specifically call out Venom-encrusted weapons, and thus allows you to get the full use of this War Scroll, even in armies that don't have access to those core battle traits we discussed in Part 1. Overall, these changes justify a slight points increase of plus 10 points. Next we have Swamp Boss Scumdrek. Like the generic Sludge Raker, Slop Claws, Bite and Talons have been given crit mortal. Scumdrek's focus on buffing Hobgrot Slitter's units has been reduced, as shown in the Bet Master ability. In the deployment phase, you pick an enemy unit to be the target of the bet, and when the target has been destroyed, if no other enemy units have been destroyed, you gain 1 command point. The Counting Cruise ability has likewise been reworked. Now you pick 2 friendly units within this unit's combat range to be the target during your deployment phase. One of the units you pick must be a Hobgrot Slitter's unit, so there is still that thematic connection. For the rest of the battle, those 2 units' melee weapons have crit mortal while they are wholly within 12 inches of Scumdrek, and if those melee weapons already have crit mortal, attacks with those weapons score critical hits on unmodified hit rolls of 5, essentially giving you another more limited use of venom-encrusted weapons. Finally, the Aggravate Wounds rampage remains unchanged. For the killer boss on Corpse Ripper Vulture, the following changes apply. The Vulture now has a ranged weapon, Vulture Vomit. This is based on actual vultures having vomit as a defensive mechanism. I don't know how this got missed, I don't know why the Games Workshop designers didn't put something like this in here, but I'm taking full advantage of actual reality being disgusting and using it to justify adding in this weapon. The to-hit characteristic of the boss's melee weapons has been changed to 3+, again, because let's let destruction heroes hit on 3s, please. And Commanding View has been changed so that it no longer overlaps with the An Eye for Defight heroing trait, now being able to be taken by Kruleboyz. Overall, these changes justify a points increase of plus 20. The Merc Knob with Belcher banner has seen only a few changes. The first is the Power of Kragnos has been changed to Power of the War. I'm just removing specific lore ties to Kragnos because, it's Kragnos. Secondly, Breath of the Mire Drakes has been changed so that there is no on a 1 nothing happens effect. Instead, on a 1 to 5 you inflict 1 mortal damage on the target, and on a 6 you inflict 2 mortal damage on the target. Now we'll move on to my favourite bit, the new War Scrolls. The first is a concept that I have been excited about for a very long time. It's the idea of elite Ardboys that have become the Orruk equivalent of Foot Knights. These are the Iron Hulks. They have a 4-inch move, a 3-up save, health of 3, and a control characteristic of 2. Their melee weapon, the Big Ed Akka, has 3 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, rend 1, damage 2, with anti-hero plus 1 rend. The lore of these models is that they are the true elite of the Iron Jaws that are sent out on quests by their bosses to take control of the battlefield and eliminate key targets. This is reflected in their 2 linked abilities. The first is De Green Connects. At the start of the first battle round, you pick 1 enemy hero unit or 1 objective that has not been selected by you to be a quest in goal. That unit or objective is this unit's quest in goal. Each Iron Hulk's unit may not have more than 1 quest in goal. The second ability is Ardforged Destroyers. Once per turn army, any hero phase, this unit can essentially make a Mighty Destroyers move. However, this unit may move 6 inches instead of 3 inches, but must end that movement within 3 inches of its quest in goal. To help further differentiate them from brutes, this unit may also take a standard bearer as one of every 5 models. This unit has a points cost that is similar to Chaos Chosen, about 20 points less than a unit of Chaos Chosen of the same size as of the time of recording. This unit could be converted by combining the Brutes and the Ardboys kits, using the bodies and weapons of Brutes and the helmets, hands and shields of the Ardboys. If you're into 3D printing, Avatars of War also makes some fantastic orc models. I myself used several of their Iron Orc War Boss models for my Iron Hulks. The Tusk Boss on Gore Grunter is a cavalry leader for Gore Grunter units, similar to the Chaos Lord on Demonic Mount for Chaos Knights. It has 1 more health than the Chaos Lord on Demonic Mount. Its Hog Hacker has 1 less Ren than the Chaos Lord on Demonic Mount, and its points cost is 170 points, 10 more points than a Chaos Lord on Demonic Mount to reflect its better durability. Its ability, Tipper to Stabber, is functionally the same as the Chaos Lord on Demonic Mount's ability. It allows Gore Grunter units to fight at the same time as the Tusk Boss with a +1 to wound. It could be converted by simply taking a standard Gore Grunter model and popping it up on a tactical rock so it looks all cool and important. The Weird Knob Shaman on Grotborn Rock is a standard Weird Knob Shaman with extra health, a slightly better save, and a fun little movement ability to reflect the fact that it is on a giant rock being borne around by a bunch of grots. Once per turn in any hero phase, if this unit has not been moved or set up this turn and has less than 8 damage points, you roll a die. On a 1, this unit suffers 1 mortal damage as one of the grots underneath it has been squashed to death. On a 2+, you get your Mighty Destroyer's movement, except if you start in combat, you do not have to end in combat. Thematically, its battle damage ability ties into the Scuttling Pallbearer's ability, as while this unit has 8 or more damage points, its move characteristic is reduced to 3 inches. This indicates that enough of the grot pallbearers have been squashed to reduce its mobility. The Odd Tusk Shaman with More Grunter Yelling Crew is my take on a mounted wizard for the Ironjaws. It can be converted by taking a standard More Grunter with Hacking Crew and adding some wizardly bits to the whole thing. The idea is that the Hacking Crew is replaced by a Yellin Crew, whose bellows add to the Odd Tusk Shaman's power, thus setting its power level to 2. While this unit has 8 or more damage points, its power level is reduced to 1, indicating that enough of the Yelling Crew have been killed to reduce the unit's power. It has the standard Unstoppable Momentum ability common to most More Grunter units. Additionally, its Tusk Charger magic ability allows it to gain 1 momentum point once per turn when it successfully casts a spell that is not unbound. The Forge Basher is a generic version of Zogrok Anvil Smasher. It is a priest 1 with the ability Tune Up. You pick a friendly Ironjaws unit within combat range of this unit to be the target and make a bash-in roll of d6. On a 3+, reduce the Ren characteristic of attacks directed against the target by 1 until the start of your next turn. On a 6, this unit also gains 1 ritual point. The Cruel Boys have a little more of a varied roster, and thus I have only added 1 new unit, the Maya Dragoons. This represents a bunch of crossbow-wielding Cruel Boys on the back of Maya Drakes, riding around using their mount's mobility to give them optimal positioning. Their Dragoon crossbows have a similar profile to the Bolt Boys' Hasty Shot, with a range of 12, 2 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s with rend 1 and damage 2. They also have shoot in combat as well as crit auto wound. Their jaggedy blades are likewise similar to the melee attacks of the Bolt Boys. Their mounts' grody fangs have 4 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s with no rend and damage 1, with companion and crit mortal. Lastly, their Maya Drake Breath adds a little extra close range punch to their ranged attacks. You pick an enemy unit within 8 inches of this unit to be the target, then roll a die for each model in this unit. For each roll of 3+, the target suffers 1 mortal damage. So you're looking on an average of 2 damage for an unreinforced unit or 4 damage for a reinforced unit. For armies of renown, we'll begin with Krazog's Grunter Stampede, which remains largely unchanged. You can now add the Tusk Boss on Gore Grunter and Odd Tusk Shaman with Yelling Crew to this army. The inclusion of the Odd Tusk Shaman requires that it have a spell and manifestation lore added, which I have done. The Grunter War ability has been changed to add more support for More Grunters. Now, rather than adding to More Grunter Trotter attacks characteristics, You instead add 1 to the momentum points for affected more grunter units, and until the end of the turn, increase the number of momentum points those units may have by 1. The Trophy Hunter heroic trait has been wholly replaced with Hog Whisperer, which adds 3 to the control score of friendly grunter stampede units that are wholly within 12 inches of this unit. The manifestation lore now includes Summon Foot of Gork, and the spell lore single spell is Healing Swill. It targets a visible friendly grunter stampede unit wholly within 12 inches of the caster. On a successful cast, you heal d6 the target. Of all the armies of renown, Zogrok's Ironmongers has perhaps seen the most changes. Into the Breach has been replaced with Zogrok's Destroyers, which is effectively just Mighty Destroyers under a different name. The Zogrok's War ability has been added. This is a War keyword ability, which allows for things like the Mega Boss on Maw Crusher's biggest, bellowiest boss ability to continue to function even in this army of renown. It also replaces the legendary Vandal's ability. The Zogrok's War ability functions similarly to the Ironjaw's War ability, but rather than adding 2 to charge rolls, it only adds 1 to charge rolls. As a trade-off, the target's melee weapons gain anti-hero, anti-faction terrain, and anti-war machine. All Zogrok's Ironmongers units can now gain the ward from the Ironclad Scrum's ability. As a trade-off, the ward only triggers while they are wholly within 12 inches of an Ardboys unit of 5 or more models, where previously it was 3 or more models. The heroic trait Oi Back to It has been changed to affect any non-hero Zogrok's Ironmongers infantry unit, not just Ardboys and Brutes. This allows for a wider variety in list building. The rest of the army of renown remains unchanged. Finally, we have the Merkvast Menagerie. That makes, I believe, 3 different sub-faction type formations that have the word menagerie in their name in Age of Sigmar 4th edition. I don't know who's designing this stuff, but dude, go and become a zookeeper. Alright, mate? I think you'll find yourself a little happier. Anyway, the first change to this army of renown is in the roster options. Now, for every Cruel Boys monster or cavalry you may include a non-hero Cruel Boys infantry unit. This allows for the inclusion of the Maya Dragoons in this army. The Cruelly Swarm battle trait has seen some changes. It is now no longer based on not having charged. Now, each time a friendly Merkvast Menagerie monster unit is picked as the target of an enemy's combat attacks, you roll a die to see if the attacking unit can even stomach attacking that monster. On a 4+, subtract 1 for hit rolls for those combat attacks. The heroic trait Grim Diet has been replaced with Brainbuster Bugs. The 2 effects are similar, both granting a ward 5+. However, Brainbuster Bugs has the added rider that each time an unmodified ward roll of 1 is made for this unit, your opponent may move the unit 1 inch. This can take them into or out of combat. This is because an Orruk that used to be high but is no longer high, like the old trait, is less fun than an Orruk who is currently high, like the new trait. Is this new heroic trait a nerf? Yes. Is it way more fun and do I stand by it? 100%. For the spell lore, Mawkish Mist has been changed from granting a ward 5+. Now, until the start of your next turn, enemy units that are more than 12 inches from the target cannot target them with abilities. Ward 5+ is useful but a bit boring. This is more interesting. The manifestation lore has changed from summoning the Foot of Gork to summoning a Mork's Pit Marsh. This was, I felt, more thematic for this army of renown. As for regiments of renown, I'm going to be honest, I'm not too interested in them, so I didn't do anything. Take them if you want. They're fine. If any of them include an updated warscroll, just use that one. Alright, well that just about wraps up this series. A complete document containing all the changes I've made to the Orruk Warclans Battletome can be found in the description. Thanks for watching, feel free to like, comment and subscribe. Or don't, it's your prerogative, I'm not going to force you to do anything. Alright, you all have a good one.